There have been only three brands over 46 years that have been the Entrepreneur 500 ranking every single year.
Over 80% of franchises will never get past 100 locations.
All right, hello everybody. It is Matt and Jennifer Lucas back again for another Zor Zoom edition. Today we're going to be talking about Lawn Doctor. Interesting fact, there have been only three brands over 46 years that have constantly been in the Entrepreneur 500 ranking every single year. Lawn Doctor is one of those, the other two, Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's. So let's jump right into it, Eric, if you
It's a way
don't
to catch some
mind.
excitement and interest right out of the gate. Thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
guys.
I mean, to put yourself in that echelon, that's saying something. So talk to us. How has Lawn Doctor been able to do this?
It's been an incredible journey and a lot of ground to cover. But when you really kind of break it down and step back and think about the thousands of concepts that are around in this country, I think the numbers say somewhere around 4,000 franchise concepts are franchising in the United States today. And an interesting fact that you guys probably know, over 80% of franchises will never get past 100 locations. It's, as we know, very hard to scale and build a brand of this magnitude. So when you look at Lawn Doctor, it started franchising back in the late 1960s in New Jersey and started to expand further and further east and south and north. We've built now about 700 locations around the country over that span. And it's a proud legacy brand with a lot of history, domain authority, knowledge about it. But we attract some incredible owners because they love the history. They love the proof of performance. And it's nice to have a brand that can show that to someone over many decades and many twists and turns and ups and downs and recessions and a pandemic. We keep showing up and keep growing every single year. So very honored to be in that category of brands. When you talk about McDonald's and Dunkin' and 46 straight years, we're a Hall of Fame member of the Entrepreneur Media, and you don't get that unless you're doing things the right way. So pretty honored to be a part of that mix.
I love that. I did not know that until today. I'm totally using it every time, but almost 700 locations. Is their territory still available?
Yeah, in fact, we just were obviously together. We helped a new gentleman into Southwest Florida. There's several things you look at in a franchise as a candidate. Territory availability is probably one of the first things you want to understand what's available here. Without getting too deep today, we have room for about another 250 to 300 new franchise owners throughout the country. A lot of our opportunities still available truly with Lawn Doctor are going to be more in the Midwest and kind of the Northwest part of the country. That's where there are more holes than not. When you look at the Northeast side of the country, Mid-Atlantic, there are territories still there, but they're not as available as it used to be. That's kind of where it started. And as we know, you kind of grow in areas that you start and then further expand out. That's kind of where we're at here. But several hundred essentially still available in certain pockets around the country. It's just a matter of finding that right candidate, right time, right fit, and we've got an area available. Then the magic happens at that point. But a lot of work left to be done.
But, for those viewers that are, say, in one of those markets that maybe are heavily more concentrated already, don't give up on it. Stick around, listen, because at the end of the day, there could be a resale opportunity for, an existing owner that's ready to exit.
And like you said, there's pockets. I never thought Southwest Florida was going to be available, and it was a perfect fit. So
It was a great fit. Yeah.
And that's why you looked into it for your candidate. And it's nice because if we're not available right where you're at, there's a good chance there's something pretty close by. And the nature of this model, as you've learned and other good franchise consultants know, this is more of that recurring membership model where you set up customers and it's pretty predictable. So you can manage an area well and not have to be directly in it. We want you to be relatively close because you do a lot of local events and ground game efforts in your area. But just because your immediate market might not be available, something close by may be. And the way our business is run, it's still very doable. So always reasons to talk and discuss, because if we don't have that, it can't go anywhere, obviously, right?
Well, and let's kind of dive into that because for me, that's one of the things that I love about your brand is the reoccurring revenue. For any business owner that's out there, when you put in all the time, energy, and effort to build and grow your business, it's nice to not always start January 1 at $0, right? It's nice to know that, hey, I've got X amount of revenue that's already on the books for the next 12 months. And then it gives you a starting point to continue to grow. So talk to us just a little bit about the services themselves and how, I guess kind of that percentage of reoccurring revenue or retention that you guys see on a yearly basis.
It's a great question, and it's interesting when I talk to clients that are starting their journey in franchising and researching, and I often coach them to shop not like a consumer, but like a business owner. You got to kind of score the attributes of a business model. Is this recurring or transactional? Is this a one shot or is there a membership play here? Can I bundle services and add programs to this existing customer that I paid to get last year and continue to keep that customer? And then from there, what's my relationship to my employee? How do I run this out of a home office? Do I have to get a warehouse? Do I have to build out and have a lease space? There's all these factors that can complicate an investment, but it starts with what is the actual economics here, the model here. We're very focused holistically as a platform here. Happiness Brands, which Lawn Doctor is a part of, and we can touch on Happiness and some of the other brands here today as well. But we like recurring revenue models. And why is that? For a lot of the reasons you mentioned, when you break it down and kind of look at it, there's an acquisition cost. We talk about CAC, customer acquisition cost, as compared to annual, and then lifetime value of a customer. So the average customer here, year over year, we're keeping 85 to 90% of our booked business from that previous year. So when you go into that second spring as a franchise owner, that new sales window, you're beginning off with a good amount of revenue that's pre-booked and ready to go that you covered last year. So the customer in year 2, 3, and beyond is a lot more profitable for a franchise owner because there's no acquisition there, but it allows predictability. It allows you as an owner to kind of say, hey, I maybe signed up 200 or 300 customers last year, and I'm going to keep 85, 88% of that. I'm going to start off my second year with some momentum, some word of mouth going. I've got some neighbors now using this and businesses. I get a little more momentum established, and I more than double that customer base. It's an annuity model where every year you're adding new revenue to existing revenue, but also upselling your existing base of customers. So your revenue per customer steadily climbs season over season, year over year, with no more real acquisition costs, and just managing your labor, your human calories well, and your material costs, which is inherent in the business model as you learn it. So it's very predictable, and people like that. We want owners that are comfortable networking, doing what we call ground game. We run a lot of media here, and we can touch on kind of the centralization and where we run ads and campaigns and paid search and SEO and display. We're making an owner relevant. We need that local ambassador out of a franchisee to do home shows and farmers markets and networking events and get involved with HOAs and property managers and realtors and small businesses. That's where local owners can really bring their energy and shine at the unit level, because we can't really control that aspect. We want them to focus on nurturing customers and maintaining relationships. And we want to drive kind of future fuel through centralized media that we're managing along with their efforts at the local level. So you get those customers, you keep them. It feels really good, to your point, when January, February comes around, that spring window is opening up to say, I've got this nice amount booked, pre-booked, ready to go. Now I'm looking to add more efficiencies in the areas that I'm already in and try to work forward to taking a step to that next revenue band up here this year.
Yep.
And well, on top of that, so you mentioned January, and I know but a lot of people's first reaction is this is a seasonal business. So it's not though, right? You went
Not anymore, I will say. It in certain markets, obviously, as we know. Now you're in Florida, I'm in Nebraska, and there are different climates all across the country. But when you look at a northern market, a Nebraska, a Michigan, an Ohio, and Indiana, these are markets where you typically start doing your servicing as an owner and a team. Early March timeframe is when it begins, and you typically go through early to mid-November. We offer a whole different series of fall services that carry it much deeper than most people think. But in Florida, parts of Texas, those kind of areas, it's a year-round program. So there's never really a start and stop. It's very steady and consistent. We wanted to eliminate seasonality for a lot of reasons for Lawn Doctor and other Happiness Brands that have seasonality by introducing commercial grade holiday lighting services to our offering. So Lawn Doctor, as an example, has Holiday Lighting Heroes as an added service line. So whether you're in Florida or Michigan, you can do it. But when you're in a market that stops and there's no revenue coming in for lawn care, there's an opportunity to put in holiday lighting, maintain predictability with your staff. They're staying with you. There's no turnover there. You have an opportunity to upsell your existing base and a whole new opportunity to attract new customers into holiday lighting. So you have revenue opportunities in traditionally dormant months in a northern market. So we're seeing more of our owners get into it. There is a really big push in our system. Holiday lighting is highly profitable. It's still very much a sophomoric space. If I had to put it in terms of a baseball game, we're probably in the top of the third right now in terms of holiday lighting becoming a real commercial need. It's about a 5 billion roughly dollar space, but we see it growing exponentially in the years to come. It's just another service people are going to outsource and not want to deal with. So for our purposes, we like it for predictability, cash flow year round, regardless of climate and market, predictability with keeping talent. Because we know in seasonal businesses, trust me, it can be a challenge to say, hey, I got to let you go, but I want to bring you back in March. When that window is that long, you take a real risk of losing talent that you onboarded, trained, got into your system, and you may not get them back. Now, we have some work throughs on that side of it as well. We don't force people to do lighting, but we really encourage it because that revenue ramp can happen so much more quickly and get to that 7-figure top line sales that every owner wants to try to get to as soon as you can by really eliminating those long windows of no revenue in northern markets and adding lighting. We can get you there much quicker. So you can tell I'm passionate about it. We love it. We're seeing more of our owners getting into it. I'll end with this. Last week, we just finished up training for holiday lighting. We do that separately within Happy Nest. Owners that are getting into lighting in that given year come out in the fall, actually just as of this recording here last week in mid-September, to do specific training with their teams for holiday lighting, because we want to start getting that advertising and branding going now, because you got to start that lead up into that window in the fall, winter for lighting services. So it's a whole new service line. We're excited about it. We've been piloting it for years and rolled it out a couple of years ago in earnest. And here we are today now with a year-round opportunity.
Well, I'm glad that you kind of expanded on that a little bit because I think a lot of people watching this and listening probably don't realize how large that lighting opportunity really is. Jennifer and I've seen it just because we've seen some franchises come in that offer it. And the revenue numbers that you can do on lighting for just holidays, I mean, it's really mind blowing. So, what is a quote unquote seasonal service can produce a pretty decent amount of revenue, and especially for anybody that is in a seasonal climate for the weed control and everything else, it's a great addition.
No question about it. And really the driver for us was looking at ways for continue to keep that sticky customer too, right? You want to have, now we have an auto renew membership process with Lawn Doctor, which makes it very easy, but staying in front of them. And people love lawn care. We do an amazing job, but it's such a different service that brings joy to families when you see it instantaneously. And we take a lot of pictures and post, and families are happy and excited. It's a feel good business, but there's a finite window of time to get this done, which is why there's such a demand for it in this do it for me society. But even if you have a complementary seasonal model, you can only do so many customers in a given season until you have the infrastructure to manage more and more. By having lawn care and lawn services attached, it gives you that cash flow runway to obviously have what else you're doing 8 to 9 months out of the year. And this slides in and you can stack up additional customers, but grow into that larger base and scale over several seasons and years of doing holiday lighting as well. So it's not just as easy in our mind of saying, hey, I own this and let's throw a cling on the door. Now I do this. This is a whole program with different marketing behind it, vendors and processes and commercial grade inventory. And we do this the right way and present it the right way to a customer. It's a white glove, white collar service, just like Lawn Doctor is. We don't want to run these businesses in blue collar ways. We want to show a customer a great user experience and journey and a great outcome and maintain that continuity as best as we can. So a lot of reasons to like it, obviously, but everybody likes to grow revenue and make money. And that's another way to do that at a high margin within the model that we have.
And so talk to us a little bit about the overall investment, the, I guess, base service of Lawn Doctor, but then what additional, I guess, investment needs to be made on the holiday lighting side?
It's a good question. And I think anybody starting their journey with you or directly with a franchise company, initially you're looking at the initial investment and saying, can I afford this reasonably? And what resources do I have? And generally home service models are lower investments because there isn't a brick and mortar necessary play, right? So you'll see lower end, and Lawn Doctor kind of fits into that same. It's a community business. You've got a vehicle, you've got equipment, you hire a technician, you as an owner are taking on the role of face of the business and marketing. So you can keep your costs pretty low. It's about $150,000 to $200,000 initial range for startup for Lawn Doctor and Holiday Lighting Heroes. We bake it into our FDD, our item 7. It's a part of the model, whether an owner chooses to execute and get into the lighting services. We work with our owner on timing on that, but It's inherent and built into the lawn doctor model. So 150 to $200,000 range is what most home service types of businesses are for the reasons we talked about. So bit of a lower investment. I always will tell a candidate that also is going to mean a bit of a heavier lift at the local level. And what I mean by that is this is not a transactional storefront, run ads, drive to a store, do a transaction. Maybe you never see that customer again. This is outreach, community development, building loyalty and trust by getting yourself indoctrinated in the community while media is running, accessing customers, converting, going to their property. So you can keep the costs down, but it's so paramount and key in businesses like this, and this will be helpful for your viewers. These models that we have, and really any vehicle-based type of model that have a recurrence, it's based on density and efficiency. And we know what we're doing. We get an owner set up, a territory set, how we market, where we're targeting, where we're focusing. You want to build those dense clusters in both lawn and holiday lighting, and then get a little bit wider season over season to kind of manage that scale and grow into more efficiencies and profitable routes. So you don't want to get too wide too quick in something like this. You want to keep it kind of siloed and then expand it out gradually. That's what we've seen work very, very well here. Keep the cost down. As a franchisee, you got to be the face of the business at the local level. So that's a little bit different than a retailer food type of business where you might be behind the curtain and no one knows who you are and don't necessarily care. A little bit of a different proposition, outreach, outgo kind of service model like these.
So out of curiosity, with that being said, do you have a breakdown of what comes from like the general media marketing versus the community outreach?
Sure. Yeah. And it varies, as you can appreciate, based on
Sure.
market. There's always factors and we have to disclose that, but it's a pretty even split. In a lot of markets, it might be 60% corporate ad run leads coming in versus 40% local nurturing. I've seen it at 50-50, 70-30. It depends on a lot of factors, how long someone's been around and presence and relationships they have, their comfort with commercial account development, because that's something we train an owner on and help them with. But they got to bring some of those relationships. I always tell people, you got to have some arrows in your quiver coming into a franchise. You've got skills, knowledge, relationships, experiences. We have a really good proven model. You're plugging in on that. You've got to execute on these things, but you got to bring some juice and energy on these aspects at the unit level. Can you do this well? And I want you to validate that with other owners that are doing that in market. So those are some things that we obviously want to have conversations with candidate by candidate. But getting back to your question, it's a fairly even split. It can be a little heavier on the corporate lead gen side of things initially if someone doesn't have as many of those relationships. But we all know in marketing, it's about impressions, and we want to create those rules. We call it the rule of sevens. 7 impressions, and however we get those through our direct mail program, digital ads on Meta, paid search, a local event, lawn signs, door hangers, home and garden show sponsorships, local event sponsorships. Got to build presence in a business like this. And we want candidates in the area, customers going, where did this lawn doctor company come from? My God, they're everywhere. I've heard of them before. It's been around for a long time. I've seen them out there, but man, they are just in my face. We want to really create that wall of sound, and that's a two-way street that we want to have an owner involved in alongside our multimedia programs that we're running.
So who are you looking for? Do you guys work with semi-passive on the onset? Do you prefer fully active at the onset? What's the avatar?
I love that question. And you guys know me well. Like I've been in franchising going on 17 years. And I've heard over the years, there's been changes in terms and new terms. And of course, we all know the terms now of owner operator or semi-absent or passive or executive model. I'm not sure, to be very honest, with all my years of experience, I know exactly what those terms mean to everybody.
Exactly.
It means something new to everyone I talk to. Like, what does that mean to you? Because I've been doing this a long time and I'm not sure I know what it means. And that's crazy. Now, in all seriousness, I understand kind of what we're talking about here. You're in or you're not as a business owner. What I look at and what we all do as a team when we're assessing and mutual evaluation and going through the model and the economics and the day-to-day and the tools, and this is what owners do and what we do. What does your day-to-day look like? If you have a job, what is that? If that job is going into an office 5 days a week, 40, 50 hours a week, and you're thinking you're going to scale this big, 7-figure business with Lawn Doctor or anybody in a few years, doing this from 5 to 8 at night, 2 days, 3 days a week, and on Saturdays and occasionally on Sundays, you're sadly mistaken and it will fail. This is also not 24/7, 365. You got to find your life. You got to squeeze it in here. This is all you're thinking about now and forevermore. No, there's a blend in there, but we have to understand, what is your situation? Are you working out of home? Are you flexible? Do you do consulting work? Do you have, more freedom than you do, being in the office? What does your team look like? What are your responsibilities? And if you do have a lot of those, and this isn't something where you can pour your heart and soul into it, do you have a spouse? Do you have other family members, a partner? Is there a way to divide and conquer to have you maintain your current role in your cash flow situation while you're lifting this? You can't depend on employees to build a business. You can depend on them to execute and duplicate services day to day, but someone can quit on a moment's notice. We know how life is. It's not you're in your office running your team and you're very busy and the boss is down the hall. You've got goals to meet. You're building this customer base and someone says, I quit. I found another job that's paying me more. I'm done today. What are you going to do? As an owner, you're creating something special for your family. You've got to have the bandwidth to do that and the decks of life cleared. If it's not you, it's got to be someone. But maybe there is a way with that type of person I described where it's, I'm in the office once a week. I travel a little bit. My wife's going to be involved on the back end. She's great. And I'm going to have my son maybe involved. I can put in a good 20 hours a week and really be dedicated to this, but I'm looking to move on from what I'm doing. It's the chicken and the egg mentality, right? If you want to build this to move away from that, what are you going to do to get there? It's that pattern interrupt in life we all have to get used to. You're going to work a lot harder, a lot more hours. You're going to be involved in this more than you think. If you're going to build something meaningful, this isn't a storefront transaction where people are just coming in to you and you're managing that. There is outreach and things that happen day to day. So it's a long-winded way of saying here, Matt and Jennifer, we want to understand the situation and kind of figure out, is your recipe one that we can get comfortable with? And do we see this working well? If we don't, we would not want to move forward because that does no one any good. So long-winded way again of saying you're in or you're not, you're running this business or you're not. We do not want an owner driving a van around doing services all day. That's a very duplicatable task. You're working on scaling this business for all the things I kind of talked about earlier. You've got to be really involved in that in the earliest stages. And I would say the first year to two, this is what's got to be top of mind for you. This is your business, your asset. You want to monetize it and get it to a point where it's profitable. The more you are involved, the more you burn that boat and light that match and say, this is where I'm at, the quicker that's going to happen.
We covered a lot in a short 25 minutes so far. So anything that we left out that you think is really important for the audience to hear?
Guys, I think to me, business ownership is something everybody thinks about realistically, but very few people actually, relatively speaking, do it. It's a spectator sport. I've said this for many years. Everyone fancies it and wants to look at it and get into the process. Really got to ask yourself early, what am I looking to achieve here? What is my why? Why am I considering doing this to myself? I know I'm going to put a lot on my plate. I know it's an interruption in my life. I know things are going to change. I know I'm going to spend a lot of money to get this off the ground. I got to have working capital set aside because it's going to take me more to keep this going. And I really have to be committed to this. But why am I doing this? I want to create something for myself, my family. I want freedom. I want flexibility. I want autonomy. I want things on my own terms. I want to create an asset and wealth for my family that I can, have my kids get involved. All those things are reasons I hear as you as well. But what are you willing to do to get there? It's a big shift having your name on the front of the check from having it on the back of the check like most people are used to. There's a lot of responsibility involved in that, and it takes more time than you think. It takes patience and consistency and commitment to build a meaningful recurring revenue business like this. But once you get that flywheel going and you start to build some momentum, it's that annuity type of business model that everybody would love to have. And when they see the history and the legacy and the retention of owner and what we've accomplished over all of these years, it gives people an extra layer of confidence that I'm doing it with the right people that know what they're doing. But it doesn't make it easier, doesn't make it simple. You still got to climb the mountain with your own two legs and carry that backpack, and you got Sherpas helping you go the right direction, but you got to climb it. And I think too many people in their mind get an idea and they start to get excited, but they don't really assess where they're at in life and can this fit in and can I be successful? Do I have the ability to do that? Those are the conversations we're going to have as a team with our candidates. We tell people what they need to hear about business ownership, not what people think they want to hear, which is this is going to be great and easy and sure, you can do that and you can do that. Oh, it's going to be, you really have to be defined in your North Star and your why and be open-minded, learn, be coachable. To me, it comes down to four basic things, and I'll end with this from a franchisee perspective. Are you someone who can execute? Can you be self-accountable? Do you have really strong drive and work ethic? And do you have resiliency? Those are the four cornerstones of any successful partner I've ever worked with as a franchisee. Everything else can be learned. Everybody we bring in is smart and has resources and can work through all of these things. But those are the four attributes. You got to bring those to the party and know this is a long-term play. I'm committed to this. My decks of life are clear. And I feel like this is the right vehicle to get me and my family where we want to go.
And the other part to that, and this is a conversation I have with a lot of our candidates, is best time to start's really yesterday, but you can't go back. So today's the next best time to get moving on something. And the reason why I firmly believe this is, none of us know how long we're going to be here on this earth. But what we do know is every night we go to bed, we just lost one of those days. And so our runway continues to shrink each and every day. And so if we're going to make the biggest impact that we can make, or if we can make the biggest difference in our families' lives and build that empire for them to enjoy, you got to get started sooner than later, right? I mean, I was very fortunate that I got started at 22. It's made a world of difference in our lives, but it's never too late to start. That's very important, but it's always better to start earlier than later as well.
Absolutely, guys. That's so well said. And I think one of my owners in our happiness, we didn't talk a lot about happiness. We have other service models here underneath the Happiness Brands umbrella. Of course, we have Lawn Doctor, we have Eco Maids, we have Pest Hunters, Mosquito Hunters, and we also have Sparkle Squad, which is our newest brand growing rapidly, and a brand in Canada called Elite Window Cleaning. So we have this ecosystem of service brands that all operate in a very similar way, attract a similar type of mindset and franchise owner. And we get a lot of benefit and lift from having all of these shared services and systems in a think tank. The biggest, I think, value to me, Matt and Jennifer, in a franchise outside of the tools and training and guidance and marketing and support is the fraternity. It's the think tank. It's learning from others that are where you're at, 2 years ahead of you, 20 years ahead of you, a year behind you. These are all things that everybody benefits from. Rising tides raise all boats.
Become best friends with the guy that's already where you want to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to know what success looks like in life. And when you have that model and see it being done around you, it's like, well, why can't I do that too and follow that same path? And I will say headaches are inevitable. An owner told me this, and it stuck with me a few years ago. Headaches, Eric, he said, are inevitable in life, whether you're a business or you have a W-2 job. The difference I feel, he said, because he was relatively new, about a year in when he told me this, is these headaches, they're mine. I own them. Right? These are my headaches, and this is for my family and my business. What I'm solving today, because we all know that's what business ownership is solving problems. If you're not solving problems, you're not in business. It's as simple as that. Whatever your widget and your model is, you got to solve a problem. And whether it's time or I don't know how to do this or I don't want to do that, we're solving that problem. There's going to be headaches in life. There's going to be challenges, an employee issue, a customer complaint, somebody called off late. That's going to happen in a job. It's just the difference is you're owning those. It's for your benefit as a business and as an owner. And there's some freedom in that. Once the dots fire in someone's head and go, this is mine. I'm not solving this problem for my boss or his boss or the company's. I'm doing it for myself. That's a big difference.
Get to reap those rewards. So thank you so much for the time, Eric. Very insightful. We certainly appreciate it. For those of you watching, if you are interested in hearing more about Lawn Doctor or any of the happiness brands, shoot me a text 270-215-2844. We'll get with the team, make sure that your market's available, and go through those next steps.
Thanks, Eric.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Matt and Jennifer. Appreciate it.